Welcome to the What's Your Deal podcast, where we discuss business acquisitions, investments, management, and exit strategies. I'm your host, Matt Uhler. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of What's Your Deal. I am joined by a guest today, MJ Gordon. So I'm going to introduce her, and then I'm going to introduce our co-host as well. MJ is a performance strategist and executive coach who works with high-performing entrepreneurs and leaders, including organizations like Adidas, the NFL, and NerdWallet. And through that work, she's noticed a pattern. The more successful people become, the more overwhelmed and stretched they often feel. MJ helps high performers operate at a high level without burning out or sacrificing their health, relationships, or quality of life. Through simple, practical systems, she helps people create more capacity, more clarity, and more sustainable results so they can continue to grow without breaking themselves in the process. MJ, welcome to the What's Your Deal podcast.
This is such an honor, guys. Thank you for having me and to have both of you.
I know. Yeah, thank you. Fun. And so I've asked my wife, Audrey, to co-host this episode with us because we both met MJ at a conference about 6 months ago or so.
October, whenever that was.
Yeah, something like that. And so what's so cool about that is that we get to have your input about male and female and all of these dynamics. Because as a couple, we own quite a few businesses, but also Audrey and our oldest son just bought a business. And so some of these things that I covered in your outline here, like overwhelm, so on and so forth, those are definitely things we're accustomed to.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So maybe we can start out. A lot of us just assume that stress is part of what comes with being successful in business. And a lot of our audience are either aspiring business owners or business owners and sometimes multiple business owners. So that's something you're very accustomed to helping people deal with.
Yeah. And stress is a part of it. Interestingly enough, what makes good business owners are people who can really face stress continuously for long periods of time. So definitely a part of the whole journey.
Okay, great. Well, and so where are high performers getting things wrong then when it comes to stress and energy and being able to maintain that in a healthy way that doesn't lead to burnout? Because a lot of what I see and the people I work with, the business owners I work with, is they push to an extreme, they cook, right? They try to reset or recover and do it all over again. So what's the trick? What are we getting wrong with that pattern?
I like to say maybe it's not getting it wrong because if you inverse it, then it's like, how do you be a good business owner? We could just sit back and relax. But the thing that makes a good business owner is somebody who can stay in that fight or flight. The problem that we're seeing is that accessing the opposite state where states of recovery happen become now a skill that is not by default. Default, business owners are constantly on. Our brains are wired. We're always solving problems. We're always having to be present. Lots of context shifting going on. We're holding it all in our heads. And so without the right system or strategy to be able to access different states and to move in and out of that state, then you're just in fight or flight all the time. This compounds into a deficit. And then when you were, say, younger or first starting your business, you might not have the same stamina or the same motivation and passion that you might have. Some people start to resent their business or think maybe this is not for me because it starts to create a long-term deficit.
Well, what's so interesting about that is having been in business for quite some time, all of the ways now that people can contact me has added to that. I don't get the natural breaks that like, okay, my phone's not ringing. Well, now it's phones, emails, text. I mean, just all these Voxers, everything. And it's hard to what?
Social media too. You can't escape any of it.
It's really become overwhelming. So do you see that being a contributing factor today?
100%. Yeah. In fact, today we're seeing a lot more non-genetic ADHD crop up in people, especially women. And I believe that's because we have so much information coming in and our brains never truly have time to just be quiet.
Yeah. Well, I can certainly relate to the no time to be quiet piece. It's really has to be a deliberate focus for me to literally put my phone in the other room or do something to separate, because otherwise it's just all encompassing. And the other thing I've noticed is that, I mean, it's not uncommon for me to get text messages at 3 or 4 in the morning and, until whatever time at night. And so literally.
Are you answering them at 3 and 4 in the morning?
Well, let's move on. No.
Sometimes. Depends on who it is. If it's Christian, then.
Yeah, one of my business partners.
Christian.
Oh, you know Christian. That's right.
Yes, right.
Hello, Christian.
Right. I know.
You're watching this.
I think you were trying to intervene to help him sleep more at one point.
Yeah, we were.
Right. So yes, there's a small handful of people that think it's great to communicate at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And so yes, these are, depending on what I'm doing, I might respond.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. Well, I know Audrey has some questions as well that kind of pertain in a different direction. So why don't we'll bounce back and forth between us and go from there.
Yeah. So one of the questions I had was from a woman's perspective for someone in their 40s like me, managing family, health, and everything else. What do you think is really going on that's making us constantly feel drained? Even if we feel like we're doing all the right things.
Yeah, that's actually a good preemptive, because we are doing a lot of the right things. But we've never lived in a world where everything's moving so fast. You literally have like multiple full-time jobs. They say it takes a tribe because there used to be a tribe that exists. But now, not only are we being mom, business partner, business owner, taking care of the house, managing the social schedule, all the things, even helping with the emotional state of maybe the household and our relationships, which women do sort of naturally. It's a lot to carry emotionally, mentally, and physically. And the real truth is that we're not getting it wrong. We're actually doing more. And so in order for us to keep up with the pace, we actually have to create systems and strategies that can upgrade ourselves as an operator, as a human being, to keep up. We don't go for walks looking for berries anymore, or sit down and weave baskets. We're doing it all ourselves. And then, you guys probably feel this way, but I remember when I was a child, it was like a huge ordeal to be like one really good athlete, one really good sport. Now it's like our kids have 3+ sports going on. And then they're in arts and they've got, jobs and other things that didn't really used to happen before.
Right.
Yeah, those are amazing points. It's funny when you talk about doing more. There's certainly that. And when I think, I haven't picked berries in weeks.
You've never picked berries in your life.
I might have picked berries at some point, but it's been quite a while.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. So what is it like to manage that? So business owner, again, we keep getting either more loaded on us, or some of us who like and choose to load more on because we get excited by the new next mountain to climb or whatever that might be. What are some of the things that you help people do or you recommend that people can do to manage that, as opposed to just be trying to defend against it, which is how I feel sometimes.
Well, I like to look at business owners as like people who are obsessed with going to the gym, and they never want to leave and they never want to put the weights down, but you're never going to get stronger if you don't stop and recover. So if you want to increase your resilience.
Really good advice for that. That's really good.
Saw that look.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you were saying?
You know that if you want to get stronger, you have to have recovery, sleep, you have to feed yourself well. As an entrepreneur, you're essentially a precision machine. It's one thing if you're a Volkswagen, you're trying to go from point A to point B, but you're trying to race a NASCAR here. So everything requires precision. We know that when it comes to our businesses, our teams, our sales funnels, we're constantly tracking KPIs, conversion rates. But when's the last time you did that for your brain and body?
It was when I was picking berries, actually.
Such a good answer.
A great question.
But, when you talk to like high-performing athletes, they really lean into how important primarily the recovery stage is. So if you want to be able to manage more, you have to build more precision into your ability to recover, stay focused, and have that clarity at high speeds. Wow. But you can increase the resilience for sure.
It's such a great analogy.
It's an excellent analogy. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. And I know I absorb analogies. They work for me. Sometimes just data doesn't.
Yeah.
He only speaks in analogies, actually.
They say the best storytellers talk in analogies. So
See?
I know. I'm very fluent in that. Yes. So it's funny. I honestly think it's a learning strategy. But, in school, they couldn't force me to learn something they wanted to teach me. But if they told me a story, then it stuck. So I've got some analogies here that are working for this topic.
Love it.
Yeah. So from a practical standpoint, does that just mean like building more time into your schedule or my schedule, or like what does that look like?
Well,
the recovery period. Yeah. And go ahead with yours.
That kind of actually runs into my next question, which with just like some little nuggets you could give us for juggling kids, a career, trying to take care of yourself. If you could just give us like a few little things that we can write down or try to remember.
The cool thing is now it's easier more than ever to get access to full functional labs, like ones where you can get 100 plus, 160 plus biomarkers tested. And I love this because what it's telling you is where there are gaps or friction points currently in your biological systems. You will not believe that if you're, say, low on DHEA or vitamin E, or if you're having an allergic reaction, or there's some autoimmune kind of activity going on, how your body will start to feel tired and your brain will feel foggy, and it's just really hard to recover. Your body has these similar symptoms when it's saying, hey, something's wrong. And you're kind of like, oh, why do I have a headache? Or I need more caffeine. And, it seems kind of like the same, but it's your body really saying something's wrong. Let's stop the train and let's assess. So one of the easiest, quickest ways that you can get a head start right now is figuring out where those gaps are, because a lot of times it's something as simple as seeing a specialist or including a supplement or tracking your data through a wearable like an Oura Ring or a Whoop band, and just kind of assessing where the stress really takes place. Without data, you can't manage, right? It's like what you measure gets managed. But so if we're not measuring, how are we going to manage it? We're just shooting in the dark.
I love that. I do Function Health with
yes, it's great.
Mark Hyman it's his
yes.
Yeah, it's great.
We use that, yeah.
Yep. It's amazing. And that's the one that I did, and I remember it was like hundreds of different biomarkers, and like my ferritin was low. I would never know that my ferritin was low if I didn't. Right. Nobody checks ferritin levels.
Right.
So
well, and if we're going to be honest, when you mentioned labs, I got nervous. Like there's
I saw it in Twitch.
Did you? Yeah, it was a physical response on this end.
Yeah.
Well, it makes you nervous, Matt.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Well, part of me doesn't want to know, right? So I guess there's this, and I'm sure you deal with this, right? It's just this, like, it's what I've been doing has been working, but it comes at a cost, and I try to manage it, but the data, as the term you use, then it's unescapable, right? I mean, it just is in black and white. Here's what's going on. And I've been familiar with labs to help me understand where cholesterol is or those kinds of things. But you're talking about something totally different.
He doesn't want to know where his stress level is.
I think it's
his
I
cortisol.
just think about berries.
Yeah. He might have some high cortisol. We'll see.
I do not want to go back to berry picking.
Right. That's the other thing about my brain. I will not let go of that.
Yeah.
Now, every time I see you, I'll be thinking about berries.
Berries.
Yeah.
But you said
for y'all.
Yeah. You said one thing, though, that you said you just do what works, but it gets to a point where it doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's the fine line, right? So my recovery method is probably different than what you would propose. And what I'm sure Audrey would attest to is that my recovery method has been like, I count on Audrey to plan trips. Like, okay, a forced, like we're going somewhere else. Yeah. And especially when the kids were younger, I mean, it was not uncommon for us to take 4, 5, 6, 7 vacations a year because they were forced interrupts. Otherwise, I'm just on that treadmill and I have trouble getting off it. So
yeah. Well, there's a lot of layers here, really, guys. So you're asking these questions and there's a lot. I'll start with the first one, which Because most of entrepreneurs are really in a deficit, the beautiful thing is a lot of times it's not a mindset problem. It's not like you need to sit down and meditate for an hour or commit to, an hour plus at the gym. There's small shifts if you understand how the brain waves cycle and how to access these nervous system states. Things like filling in the gaps through your function health labs and being able to access states, we call it built-in progressive flow in and out of your activities through your day and through your week. They do a lot to reset the nervous system. We say keeping the jets cool so that you're not overheating all the time. That's the first layer. The second layer would have to be just taking the time to understand neurologically how to reduce a cognitive overload, because there are two things that get people. You can be doing all the right things, like you say, Audrey. Maybe you have a great bedtime, you have a consistent morning routine, and you're trying to take deep breaths and relax. Well, again, we're usually not looking at a mindset issue with entrepreneurs. We're looking at a system error. So the precision of your race car is, you need new tires, maybe the bolts need to be, quicker, or you need better fuel. And so when you understand all those things, but the car's still not running, for the human brain, the two exceptions that can create drag is cognitive overload, too much contextual switching, and overstimulation. And that usually comes from screens and devices and taking a lot of information in. For you, Matt, the reason you can't switch off is because your jets are constantly overheating. So you don't have a strategy to cool them down. The cool thing is we only take about 5 to 10 minutes of implementing a day to teach you this. And then once you have the skill set, there's no going back.
Wow. I love that. That feels so attainable too, 5 or 10 minutes. I listen to so many podcasts and they talk about meditation, and to me, it's like one more thing to add to the list.
Yeah, we don't want that because we're busy. And I developed the Level Up system because I was a busy entrepreneur and I stopped making cortisol. That's big when it comes to fight or flight, having the energy to face stress and having blood sugar balancing. I was like dragging a ton of bricks around. But then my marriage was on the line. My business was on the line. I couldn't slow down. So I needed to figure out what was actually going on. So let's take the car example. If you realize that all you needed to do was swap the tires or upgrade the fuel, takes like 5 minutes to do that. And then you're off to the races again. And that's what we're trying to do here. Because when we're trying to mindset through things and like force ourselves to meditate and force ourselves to go to yoga or whatever else, Pilates, then it's actually creating more friction. That's why it feels so stressful. You're adding another load to the plate. You need to take load off. It's stacked stress that's causing the problem to begin with. And if you can start canceling out that stacked stress, you can still move with speed.
Well, that's perfect. And I want you to tell us more about Level Up in a minute. But one of the things you just described is exactly what I see. It's like, I need more time for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to schedule that. And then I'm going to make sure I get a walk in. But because I got this appointment, the walk needs to happen at 5:30 in the morning or 5. And then because of and before you know it, I've added more stress by trying to create some me time to recharge and cool those jets down.
And also like cold plunging. Instead of like the 3-minute max, he'll do 6 minutes because he thinks it's better.
More
if 3
is
is
better.
good, 6 is better. Right? I mean, that's just, everybody knows that. Yeah.
But what we want to do
The sauna for an hour at 175
Well, because I missed it the day before, so double up and...
we're catching up. But you know what we want to do, Matt, is we want to look at your biomarkers and see if it's actually affecting you that way. Because the last thing you want to do is add another 6 minutes or an hour and realize that you're actually creating a negative compound effect. And that's what we see in a lot of our folks. When we start measuring, it's like, okay, you've been trying to force yourself to lift heavy weights every single day. That's your non-negotiable. And you're actually creating more of a deficit because your body's not recovering. So they're keeping the weight. They're not gaining the muscles. They're tired. They're not sleeping well because they're putting too much on.
Yeah.
Well, I know this particular episode isn't highlighting my intelligence in this area.
But I feel like a lot of high performers struggle with the same thing.
Yeah. Because we're not taught it and because it was never a problem before. Right. Now we're dealing with this problem. And now we have the science that actually says, okay, we know what's going on. We didn't have that before.
Right.
All right. So I want to go into the weeds with you here and put you on the spot. So in my mind, what often happens, especially when I'm standing in my garage naked in front of the cold plunge.
After his hour-long walk.
trying to convince myself that I should get in. And part of me would much rather just take a bullet than get in the cold plunge at that point.
Especially when it's in the winter time.
The winter's tougher, I'm not going to lie. Yeah. The winter's, when I take off my jacket from coming from my walk and then decide the cold plunge. And so I am listening more. I'm trying to check in and like, okay, does this serve me or does it not? Just because I think I should doesn't mean I should. But there is this element where, and I don't struggle with this, but I know a lot of people can get hung up on like, okay, I need to take action. I need to figure out how to get myself to do what I don't want to do in order to be successful. So where is the fine line?
Yes, should he get in or should he not?
We got to ask your blood, Matt.
Yeah. Yeah.
we gotta do the data. The data will tell you. And that's a beautiful thing is because we never intended for clients to have like boundaries. That's not even a word we use, like have boundaries. Because, we're limitless. We don't have boundaries. We want to do it all. But what we kept hearing is I have boundaries now, not because I necessarily want them, but because I know the effects. I know what it feels like now to move at fast speed and the cost of when I drink alcohol at night for nightcap, or the cost when I don't get to bed on time, or the cost when I push myself and force myself into an exercise that I know I shouldn't have done. So we created like algorithms even outside of these biomarkers in order to have a metric to measure in which once we audit your actual day and figure out, looking at your, say, aura, if that's what is it called, a feasible or a balanced day for you, like what does that numerically say, like what your output is? So we call it an energy output or an energy limit. And so you're able to actually calculate your weeks moving forward. Like, is this going to be a sustainable day? Is there enough margin for error? Like I'm traveling and there's a time difference or possibly exposure to sickness from people on the plane. And you can actually measure this numerically. Again, it's strategy, right? In a way where you're like, that is actually sustainable for me. And then you develop this subconscious awareness of what's too much and what's not. But you got to start with measurement.
Wow.
So cool.
Yeah. And again, when you said audit, I just got nervous again. So.
You don't like that word.
Well, it's funny. I mean, and again, I tend to want to go get microscopic. And I have some resistance to needing to change and I guess if I were to go really deep, it's afraid that then okay, so now I'm not successful anymore and I'm just, sitting on a couch eating potato chips or something.
Which I wish he would do that.
Do you really?
Well, if I don't successfully scare you off by the end of this podcast, then hopefully the next thing I'll get you to know is the whole point is so that you build speed, so that you not only maintain momentum, but you continue to build speed. That's the idea.
I just relaxed with that.
Yeah.
Good. Yes. A way to go faster. I'm very, very interested.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you just don't want to stop.
Well,
and I think you're afraid if you stop, you can't get going again. You've said that before.
Yeah. You had touched on, I did have a practitioner at one point talk with me about my adrenals and that being in fight or flight from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m, that will not go on forever.
He's had
serious
several
consequences.
Practitioners talk to you about your adrenals.
Well, a couple.
I mean,
you should take a supplement for adrenals.
I've seen many people who have built beautiful, massive empires, multi-9-figure empires, who are no longer with us today.
Wow!
Because they did not take this into account.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. It's intense. And the thing is, it's hidden. And the reason that it's hidden, especially in high performers, is because we have trained ourselves to no longer listen. So when our body's telling us, we don't know. And that is why we had to measure and get the data. Because if I tell one of my clients, how do you feel? Do you feel like relaxing? They're like, no, I feel like getting it done. So we need to know exactly what's going on. We need to see the truth, not just how we feel. So this is where mind over matter has actually become our Achilles heel. It's our superpower and our Achilles heel because it can really mask a lot of deeper issues.
Yeah. Well, now you've got my attention and I understand that piece where being able to measure is so crucial because coming from either the generation or the learning I had or just the tenacity that was required to go from where I was to where I wanted to be, listening isn't something I'm great at often. So
I can't believe you just admitted that.
Publicly.
Wow.
Yeah, true.
I know.
I'm growing
every day. Every day.
Man.
So tell us about Level Up. So we're certainly getting a sense of it, but what does that look like for somebody like Audrey who really needs it?
Rude. I'm starting to think I really do know after this new job, and I come home stressed out, and it's all I talk about. It's all I dream about. I dream about it every night. It's all I think about when I go to bed. And he loves that, because now he's like, now you know how I feel owning a business. It's just constantly, you can't shut it down.
I never say it out loud, but I have thought that once.
He does say it.
Yeah.
Exhale for both of you now.
We need MJ.
That's great. Yes, we do.
Well, the good news is there is a existence where you can feel relaxed when the business brain is off, and then you can feel on fire, ready to go, and just amazing when business is on. And the Level Up system is something that I developed for myself. As I said, that I was not making cortisol. Everything was on the line. And at that time, I was also an influencer by hobby. And folks were asking for, what I did to reset the nervous system. I was able to recover my cortisol naturally and continue to build business, double, triple. We moved and we continued to stay married, because a lot of people ask, did you actually get a divorce? But the system is a 3-layer system in which we measure all the metrics. We teach our folks how to reset the nervous system and how to move in and out of those states. We also cover the neurology piece, which we haven't talked about yet. But so far, everybody that's come into the system that has gotten a neurological assessment has been on the spectrum.
Wow.
So, we're wired a little bit differently. Entrepreneurs, we're a little, can I say crazy? Different. But yeah, that's been such a game changer, because like somebody who has ADHD, we love to start things left and right. We have shiny object syndrome. We get hyper fixated and focused. We'll forget to eat and forget to sleep when we're working on stuff all day and all night. And what we can do is synthesize dopamine in areas that the brain lacks to produce it, to balance that out a bit. So it's different in, say, an ADHD brain than it is in an OCD brain. And this is measurable, right? Like in your brain waves, you can actually measure that an ADHD brain does not necessarily have a fully functioning dopamine receptor in the prefrontal cortex, which is why everything is so impulsive and what makes me feel good right now. So how do we get an ADHD brain to,
That's me.
Have more... Yeah, right, exactly. But then if you don't like it, it's like very hard. We procrastinate. It's, we got to have fire under our butts, like kind of a big potential consequence to really make stuff happen. And so we create this push and pull cycle that is really not sustainable, of like hyperfixate, run at top speed until we crash, and then we're not getting stuff done until it's a huge stress. And now we're forced to be stressed about it until it's done. And so that's obviously not healthy. And that creates again, that compound deficit over time. Mm-hmm. So that first layer, we treat the nervous system, we teach you how to move in and out of these states, and then we figure out what the brain wiring is so we can use those as levers instead of friction points that we're constantly fighting against. The second layer that we have is about a full life audit. You talk about building in vacation for the family and maybe communicating and listening in, your relationships. This is really hard when all of your cognitive processing goes towards business. All those other things go on the back burner. So what we created was an audit to design life by and to execute clear decision-making on the actions that actually help you feel more motivated, fulfill your purpose, and align with your identity. Because as business owners, shiny object syndrome for most of us, ADHD is the one that we see the most common in entrepreneurs. We want to do everything that sounds good. We're constantly saying, yes, let's start this funnel here. Awesome marketing strategy here. I'm going to hire that guy and, put this guy in here. And we're operating in these silos that we're not even considering our personal life. It's all business, business, business. And then life is over here when I get to it, or it's on the back burner off to the side. We want to see how all these actions are either symbiotic or, take away net gain or positive against each other. So we build out those life systems in the layer 2. And then layer 3 is full scale automations for business in terms of, anatomically, we want to see that from front to end. So instead of niching down and saying, let's focus on this funnel, let's focus on this ad, we want to create a pathway in your business of how to get from point A to point Z in the most efficient way possible. So you build the foundation, expand it outward, and then scale it to business.
Well, it sounds amazing. That's a couple day process, or
Yeah, just a couple days. Usually we say installation is about 4 months if you're consistent with that 5 to 10 minute a day. But usually it takes people about 6 months. So we have a 6-month runway.
This sounds amazing.
Well, and it is. One of the things that when I was listening to your podcast, you had talked about the adult ADHD. And honestly, I'd never even heard of it before. I know there are adults that carry that, but the significance of it and how it shows up in our lives, I was not aware of until I heard that on your podcast. And it's again, I heard you use the word audit. I got nervous, tightened up. But it is fascinating, especially as Audrey knows me and I know her, to think about what's going on with her in that element and me and how that dynamic plays back and forth. And
what he's trying to say is I have severe ADHD. I've been diagnosed several times. And he's more like on the OCD side. So,
and that's my husband too.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, he's clinically OCD and I'm autistic ADHD. So same combo. We see that combo a lot, actually. They balance each other out.
Okay.
Right.
There are friction points too, but there's a lot of good frictions.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was gonna ask or allude to. So back to these labs, it helps. I mean, it would certainly help me to understand more about how Audrey's brain works and her to understand more about how mine works, which is quantified through labs. Is that right?
Yeah. And even just the way you feel. So for instance, I always knew as ADHD, I didn't know I had this autistic component. When stress sort of builds up, I would get in these agitated states, right? Like, so if my kids ask me, Mom, what color should I pick? I'm like, I don't care. Like, can you bother somebody else with that question? And it's like, that makes me feel horrible as a mom. I want to be present. And that's really important decision for them, even though it's not for me in the moment. What I discovered, and this is what I'm talking about, where it's less about mindset. Instead of me saying, I need to be a better person with more patience and do deeper breathing, I learned that because of my being on the spectrum, all I needed to do was wear noise cancellation headphones for like 10 to 20 minutes a day. I've never had this issue since.
Wow.
So if I wore them for an hour a day,
oh gosh, you already do wear them. You already do.
But I mean, it's different for everybody, right? ADHD in particular is sensitive to sound, even though we might not consciously be aware of that. So if you're feeling cognitive overload, Audrey, like at the end of the night, you're just feeling overstimulated. Everybody's asking you things and you're feeling like kind of just short-tempered. Get some noise cancellation headphones that really cancel that noise out. Don't do anything like absorb information. Like maybe, I don't know, I used to water my plants or fold laundry or something, but just get some 10, 15 minutes. And my kids know this. If we go to Legoland or like the museum, for the first 10 minutes in the car, I need absolute silence, even if we've had an awesome day. It just makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that you say that, because every morning I have a routine where, and I'm taking in information because I'm on my phone or I'm reading a Bible study on my phone or I'm doing something. I am taking in information, but I need like a good 30 minutes at least alone. And Hudson will sometimes come in and turn on the TV or play his loud music because he loves music 24/7. And I need a minute. But I also feel this at night too. But even today when I was getting ready for the podcast, sometimes I'll put on a podcast to listen to while I'm getting ready or music. And I just needed quiet so I could just focus on getting ready. And it was really nice, actually, to have nobody home and it quiet.
I love that she's aware. I love that you're aware of that.
Yeah.
Like, because I wasn't. I would always have a podcast or music or then to call somebody on my way, driving the car. And sometimes when I feel especially overloaded, I'm like, I've got a half-hour drive. I'm just going to drive it in silence.
That sounds glorious.
Yeah, that's different. Part of the dynamic that's with us is that we've got 4 kids, and it's actually only September that we've had 3 of them now out of the house. So our 12-year-old, Hudson, is the only one that's still at home. So our whole life is different anyway.
Right.
But
his whole life is different.
His whole life is different too.
Yeah.
And so we're working on giving him more attention and all of that. But go back 10 years ago or so, I mean, Audrey was in the car for 3-4 hours a day, just shuttling
or 6.
kids. 12. No, it was a lot. But shuttling kids back and forth, back to your point. I mean, is it 1 sport or is it 3? And then you multiply that by 4 kids. It was.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was just constant stimulation. But I thrived in that. Actually, in my 20s, And even in my late 20s when I met Matt, I needed background noise all of the time. And I remember going over to his house and he cooked me dinner and all I kept thinking is like, it's so freaking quiet in here. Like, why isn't he having any music on or something? But he likes the quiet. Like, he could drive for hours with silence, where I can for a little bit now. I like the quiet, but I still need something.
Yeah. And that's common with the ADHD, right? Like, I think maybe if you think back in your 20s, you didn't have as much stimulation coming in. So then when we're left with our thoughts, we can kind of hyperactivate on, the hundreds of thoughts. So it's nice to have something kind of training you into one direction.
Absolutely.
But then when you have kids and you have business and you have work and all these other things, podcasts, et cetera, now it's like we need the silence so that our mind can unwind. So the metric that we use is like, what are you taking in versus what's processing out? And you have to find a balance point between the two.
That's interesting.
Very.
I've never looked at that. And for me, the quiet in the car, there's usually, like you were describing, I mean, there's a phone call, unless there's nobody awake to call, there's no shortage of stuff, of people I should be connecting with. And so it is hard to quiet down, but it never occurs to me like, well, I ought to turn on a radio or something.
But I love music, and music's a huge part of my life. So that's just where we're different too. Music. I mean, he can work out in silence, and it is the weirdest thing.
Oh, I cannot do that either.
Never. And also, don't talk to me while I'm working out. I just need my headphones on, and I need to be in the zone, or it's not happening. Yeah. And he likes to talk.
Yeah, the connection's so important.
It's a shoulder to shoulder, right? Like they say men like doing things together and women like the face to face.
That's so true.
What a concept.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell you this for like 15 years.
Who would have thought? Yeah. Well, we learn something new every day. Yeah. At least I try, so.
Yeah, that's great. Me too.
So, and I'm just got nervous again, but what about the difference between men and women, right? I mean, women at the women's bodies are so unbelievably complex, and trying to coordinate all of that, that's also a factor. And I'm assuming for guys, as we get older, things are changing as well. I mean, how much of that?
He's alluding to hormones. I think he's afraid to say it.
Didn't say that.
He's definitely talking about the shift.
I've read and heard of others who, no, just kidding. Yeah.
Typically when the nervous system is supported, that moves through a little more gracefully for both men and women. Where we see a lot more friction in men and women is the communication piece. And we've been able to really simplify it down into kind of 3 stages. And this is oversimplification, but I know you guys have heard probably reptilian brain, survival brain, that sort of thing. When you see men and women kind of talking over each other, or they're not getting one another, a lot of people think it's the content or the context that's being missed. But if you watch it as a third party, you're kind of like, they're totally missing each other. I wonder why. And the easiest way to frame this, and it's changed everything, at least in my personal life, not just with my husband, but parenting, leading teams, and even sales, is being able to identify which of the 3 stages a person's brain is in. And so the first one is survival. And a lot of times if you're running businesses, you are in survival mode, fight or flight, because you're solving problems. And as much as we think we're making logical decisions, subconsciously, our brain is going to prioritize feeling safe first. So if a person's brain doesn't feel safe in any conversation, they're not going to skip to logic. It doesn't matter how, awesome what you're saying is, we got to get to safety. And a person's brain is in safety when they start thinking things through. So if they start saying, yeah, but this, yeah, but that, or I tried that, and you're telling me this, and I tried that. It's objections, right? So if you think of sales, if you can clear the objections, then we can get into, okay, this is safe. Now I'm in prefrontal cortex where I can think about the future, be open to new ideas, get a little bit creative. But the brain cannot exist in all 3 states at once. So with men and women, it takes a little bit of a different approach for women to feel safe and for men to feel safe, vice versa. So that's kind of where we see a lot of that. But, when people understand this, sort of ascension into safety, you realize it's not a personal thing anymore. And then you could reduce the stress, increase emotional processing, and get to a resolution a lot quicker. And I know that's not really answering your question, but I wanted to add something.
Yeah, I love that because once you can identify what stage each person's in, you kind of let your own guard down.
Yeah.
And you have more grace, I feel like, for the. What are the 3 stages you said?
So there was survival.
Uh-huh.
Then there's like the middle brain, and that's kind of where somebody's starting to pressure test. They're like, well, what about this or what about that? Or if they're starting to object, but they're thinking, right? And then when they reach full safety, then it's openness. It's understanding. It's, okay, how do we find a solution? Let's think about the future. They start talking about that, like what can we do in the future to resolve this instead of yesterday? So anytime people are starting to butt heads, they're really seeking safety. I mean, in almost any conversation, I mean, obviously there's between business owners and stuff, we're trading information, but when you're talking about feelings, usually it's about seeking safety.
Sure.
Very interesting. And the fight or flight, I mean, just even the name is survival.
Yeah.
Right? It's not full, does that say openness?
Where?
The third one?
Full safety.
Full safety. Yeah. That's not part of fight or flight.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what's on the other side.
It's funny, though, because I can identify when we have had arguments or conversations, we go through all of those stages. I mean, sometimes we don't make it to the 3rd stage, but
always eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to separate, cool off.
Yeah.
But it is fascinating.
When you're cooling off.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you're cooling off, usually you're thinking. You're like, wait, I'm kind of I can get where she's coming from. And you're doing that middle brain processing before you're like, oh, okay, I get it. It's safe. Let's come back together and figure it out, right? So it's interesting because like sometimes, my husband and I would be like, "Meh," and I'm like, hey, I'm trying. I know you need safety, but I don't feel safe right now. We're like, that's our conversation instead of like whatever the issue is. It's like, how can I give you safety right now? I'm like, I'm trying to do that, but I don't know because I don't feel very safe. And, so, but it's interesting because it's like, since we've discovered that, as well as the, spectrum stuff, because there are certain things that I was doing based on saying, oh, I'm agitated because, and it's like, no, I just need to put headphones on. So like those 2 things have changed a lot of emotional regulation, like EQ, because I mean, think about it, entrepreneurs, we're constantly thinking about emotional intelligence. How do I lead teams? How do we be a better leader? How do I, speak better, communicate better? And so why is it that we're struggling in our relationships with our partners or at home? Well, it's usually not because we don't have the skill set. It's usually because we're missing, what state we're in. And then once you solve it, it's like, wow, I'm actually a very emotionally intelligent person. I've learned all these things over the years. And, now I can finally put that into practice.
So if next time Audrey and I are having an argument and I turn to her and just say, how can I help you feel safe?
She's going to tell you to pick berries.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're actually pretty good at that because how much safety means to me. Like that's one of it's funny that you say that word because we've talked about it for a long time, that as long as I feel safe in our marriage and myself and with my kids, like I'm great. I'm in a great mood.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it really is that simple. It's just trying to navigate it, right? And provide it.
Yeah.
And for me, the opposite's probably true. If most often the times that I'm most reactive would be when I'm not feeling safe. I'm in fear or anxiety or something.
Right.
And then that's not bringing out the best in me.
Yeah. And I think as entrepreneurs, I mean, I'm still kind of new into this. I did hair for years and years, but it was a different entrepreneur. It was a totally different experience than owning an actual business. But I think sometimes it's hard to separate being a business person and coming home. And so I don't want to be talked to like I'm an employee or a business partner. I want to be talked to like a wife and a woman,
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's really good that we got to connect with you again.
Yeah, for sure.
Really good.
It's
Great.
like opening a bunch of cans. So,
It is.
yeah.
Are you a therapist too? 'Cause
No, I'm not. In fact, we say I don't do therapy. So we leave the therapist to the therapist. They do an excellent job at that.
Yeah. Well, when we met, I know we were so intrigued by what you did and we couldn't quite get our arms around it to some extent. And we were going to hop on a call and it's so great to be able to unpack this with you.
Yeah,
And
I appreciate it.
honestly,
and sharing it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's honestly mind-boggling to understand even a little bit more. I've been doing it the way I've been doing it for a long time and getting a little better at it as I go, but it just is.
We need something to interrupt his pattern.
There's more. Yeah, there's
5 to
more.
10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes.
I love that. It's attainable.
I can stack
so
that
attainable.
on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But not 5
sure.
to 10 minutes extra in the cold plunge.
Right. We'll. Yeah.
Well, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the labs decide. No.
That's what he pulls out. He's like, Audrey, I know we have a disagreement, but here's what the labs say.
Here's what the labs say.
Let's look at data.
Well, oh gosh.
Let's let the data guide us.
Yes.
I'm not sure that would work that well with her.
That conversation I know is going to happen. I already know it.
I want you to feel safe. Let me pull out a spreadsheet.
If I see one more spreadsheet. Oh,
I know. It's really weird, but it is. It's kind of systemizing your life,
Yeah.
But we have to,
Well, you're right. It's just if we want something different, we need to look at what's different. And there's so much out there. And so how do people find you?
Yes.
That's a great question. My website, MJ- or it's like it's a dash, right? Gordon.com is a great place to start. I'm all over social media if you just look up my name. But yeah, reach out, ask questions. I got a lot of free information out there, and I appreciate you guys for having me here and choosing to share this with your audience. I think everybody needs to know more about these skills, and I'm really excited seeing it come out more into the public.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you so much. And we'll put your contact information in our show notes. And it's just, we're all, I've come to believe that we're all just trying to figure out how to do it a little bit better and enjoy this journey along the way and all of that. And it can get so clouded by so much static that's challenging. Mm-hmm. And so one last question. I like to talk with people about where they got a hand up in their life, who helped them out. Can you share a story of somebody who gave you a hand up when you needed it?
I absolutely need to shout out one of my longtime friends and business mentors, Rory Vaden. He is just somebody who believed in me from the start and really invested just a lot of time and belief and kindness. And he's just a good person. So he's one of the co-founders, along with his wife, AJ Vaden, of Brand Builders Group. They do excellent work in book launches and high-level branding. Some of your favorite authors are their clients. They've got such a great reputation, but just wholeheartedly good people all around. So,
well, great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Yes, thank you both. This was so much
good
fun.
to see you.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. What's Your Deal is really broad reaching, and that's part of the reason we named it that, because there's just so much to know behind the curtain. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode with MJ, and it's helped you to think about what's going on in your world that you might want to tweak that can help you get more of what you're after. And that's what it's all about. See you on the next episode. And that's a wrap on today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and got some valuable insights into the world of buying and selling businesses. Want to be a guest on our show? If you have a deal that you'd like to discuss with us or a business story to share, we'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email using the contact information below in the episode notes, and let's make this happen. Never miss an episode. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you found today's episode helpful, please leave us a review. It helps more people like you find the show.